What's up, everybody? This is David Leach. Welcome to the Drinks on Dave podcast, an unbiased, unrelenting, and unfiltered show about everything and anything. So crack a cold one and let's go. Emily, second time meeting you. I don't care. People can know. How are you doing?
Super good.
All right. We are going to do this again. We had a little difficulty. We are at Fitty's Espresso in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being on Drinks on Dave. It's been a minute, and I'm excited to, let's dive into it. Where are you from?
Yeah, thanks for having me, first off.
Of course.
But I am originally from Wichita, Kansas. I moved to Kansas City probably about 5 years ago. I graduated from Wichita State University, and that was 2017. And then I got a job at Cerner in 2018, so I moved up just within that year. Been in Kansas City ever since.
Why Kansas City? Was that just...
It was mainly because I got the job. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life and with my career, and I got the job opportunity, and I thought, I don't have anything else going, so let's give it a try.
What happens? Can you talk about what happens in Cerner? Or what is it? I've always wondered what the hell goes on in there.
So you don't know anything about Cerner?
I don't know anything about it. No, it's just a huge, from being from Kansas City, that's where the soccer stadium was supposed to go, way back in the day.
Oh, didn't know that.
And then Cerner bought that property. Growing up here, it was a Bannister Mall, which is the vintage 90s mall, 80s. So now it's Cerner. I just don't know what, we don't have to go too into it if you can't say, but.
I don't know it's a health IT company is what it is.
Okay,
so
that's all that.
When you go into the hospitals and you see doctors and nurses and they're asking you the questions and then they're charting it into the computers, that software that they're making the charts in, that's Cerner. So it's
big
Cerner
ass building is all that.
Oh yeah, it's a software that they're using in hospitals.
God. Mm-hmm. So who'd you come down here with? Who'd you move here with?
Oh man, so I originally moved here with a boyfriend.
Uh-huh.
But I moved out of a house living with him.
Yeah.
Maybe after 2-3 months of living here.
Went downhill pretty quick after the move.
Yeah, he was a really good guy. I really can't say anything too negative about him. In looking back, I knew he just wanted the best for me.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had a lot of internal growth and things that I didn't realize that I needed to fix on my end. So it was almost like, when your parents telling you you can't do that, but they're doing it out of love.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was kind of the situation I was in. I just didn't realize it, so I wanted to be a rebel. And I was like, why are you acting like my dad? I'd always tell him that. I'd be like, okay, Dad, thanks, Dad. But it was just really because he cared. It was, that's when I was starting to get into bad choices and things like that.
Which we'll get into for sure. How'd you land in Raytown? Because we were talking off camera. That's where I'm from. I rep Raytown like no one's business. So that's just such a small world that you landed.
Yeah, ended up in Raytown because this was probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I was living with one of my really good friends. She has a house in Waldo, which I love Waldo area.
It's a vibe.
Awesome. It's such a vibe. I'm all about it. So I was living with her, and I'd been with my boyfriend for probably about 2 years at that point. And so we were we decided to make the move and live together and try out that whole new chapter of our lives. And so we were just looking around for homes, and he knows I like a lot of space. And so he's like, I think I found this cool townhome. He's like, the layout looks really interesting, but he's like, it is basically in Raytown. And I was like, I don't really know what Raytown is. And he's like, we'll call it Raytona Beach. And I was like, okay, cool. So
okay, I like him already because he knows it's Raytona Beach. That's OG stuff there.
He's from Lee Summit.
Okay.
So he knows
the
names and everything. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, let's check it out. And we went and we looked at the place, and it's 2,100 square feet. Mm-hmm. And, it is a townhome, so you're connected to other people, but it's nice because we ended up with an in unit. We checked it out, and I was like, I don't really mind. We're away from the city. I don't mind driving in 15, 20 minutes to get downtown. That's not too bad for me.
No, and there's back roads. And the thing about Raytona Beach is in Lee Summit, your place would be about $1,000 more. So it's Raytona Beach for a reason.
Exactly.
But that's cool. I mean, so you definitely get the vibe how I grew up. I mean, Raytown hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the grassroots that, led me to where I'm at now. So it was just crazy hearing you talk about Spankies and the Clips and all that. And there is no restaurants in Raytown.
Nope.
You should open one day. But we got to get into that. Like I researched your IG. I dug what I could. You have a lot going on. Like what entrepreneur, business owner.
Yeah, I have a lot going on.
Well, do you do vintage clothing? Is that kind of, or do you make the clothing?
So, oh my gosh. Okay,
I'm a vintage head. So.
Yeah, when I say I do a lot, I really do mean I do a lot. Like all my friends and family are like, maybe you should chill out a little bit because of how much I do. So 9 to 5, I'm a project manager. I work as a project manager for the VA, but it's implementing the Cerner software. So that's how I got the job, because I'd worked at Cerner for 4 years. So then on the side, I have a small business, and that's my beauty business. And that's, I do needleless lip fillers, teeth whitening, and I'm about to get certified in doing tooth gems. So that's like when they have like the cool crystals on their teeth and everything. So that's my small business. But then also me and my sister, we go thrifting, and she has this really nice sewing machine, and we'll go and we'll like rip up old pieces that people are like, I would never be able to wear that because it's granny style or whatever. And we'll actually like modify it and make it into like a modern piece.
That's badass. I saw that instantly. I was like, that shit looks awesome.
It's hard. I mean, sewing that's a whole beast of its own. I mean, you could spend a while learning the different sewing techniques and everything with that. But a lot of things I do, I've realized I have to be very patient in mastering the skill. So it's not like an overnight success thing. It's you're practicing it and you're repeating it and learning it pretty often to be able to do it to where people notice it and like your work.
But I think you're a lot like me in that sense, where if you didn't have all that stuff going on, you'd go crazy, wouldn't you? Like, I don't like downtime. Like, you got to have passion. You got to have what you're doing. I'm all for it. You got to have multiple things going on.
Yeah.
You have to. Like,
yeah, you definitely do. And I mean, that's why I also picked up like hula hooping, hula hoop dancing and shuffle dancing, because you have those moments and everything where you're like, what do I do with myself? And you can lead you to bad choices, as we can get into here in a second. But
when you say the VA, you mean Linwood, the VA on Linwood, like the hospital, or what? Or are you talking about in general?
Oh, in general.
Oh,
in general. I don't think they have started implementing the one in Kansas City. I think they've mainly done the ones on the West Coast. I think they're like slowly going from West Coast all the way to the East Coast, but I mean, it's like very slowly.
And it's a full-time gig, 9 to 5 all day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, in between my meetings, if I get stuff done, I'll be like, let me go on my small business account and post my media content for the day and interact with, my clients and stuff like that.
And your sister, that when I was creeping, that's your twin, but that's not your twin. Because this is the second group of twins that we've had on the show. We've had the Stacys, which... He's a twin, but that's not your twin.
Not biologically, but like she's my sister.
I mean,
we look so much alike. So I just tell people, yes.
Who has this gene? Your mom has strong genes, and that's for sure. You guys look like your mom.
Yeah, but it's actually crazy. If you really look at us, she looks a lot like my dad, and I look a lot like my mom. Yeah. But for some reason, we just both look so much alike.
And you're close. You and her are close.
Oh yeah, we're very close. Yeah.
Where's she? Is she here?
Yeah, she lives in Kansas City.
Okay,
she
that's
lives
cool.
Up north.
That's good you have her here, though.
Yeah, actually, I don't think she lives too far from here.
That's awesome. So, just from the short time I met you, it's hard to believe that what we're going to get into in a minute, you had an addiction problem, I'm guessing, and we talked a little bit off camera. I've never, honestly, I think the closest thing I would say my drug is probably food. I'm a fat ass. My weight has fluctuated my whole life. I mean, and food is a drug, for sure.
It totally can be. You can really get addicted to anything.
So, I mean, I've gone from 300 to 280 to 220 to 3. But I have no comparison to what you've probably been through with your addiction. Like Like, I've never done any hard drugs, and I'm not saying you
Mm-hmm.
have, but like, what was your addiction of choice, I guess?
Yeah, so I really got into Xanax.
Xanax. Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that actually really started when I had graduated from college. So throughout a lot of my life, I had smoked a lot of weed. In high school, people would be like, "Hey, take this pill, man." Like, I
Course,
mean, I
yeah.
would just do it at parties and stuff like that. And I would do it, but it's not like I was doing it all the time. I basically did that all through college. I'd party, but I knew my limit. I mean, then I was a pretty big stoner, but that was about it. But it wasn't really until after I had graduated college and I found Xanax, and I thought, wow, this is it. Like, this makes me feel normal. This makes me feel good. And it was because I didn't realize how much anxiety I really had. Honestly, not even until recently. Really until I decided to quit it and go through that whole journey. But I didn't realize how much anxiety and what I was really holding in and how it really affected me. I had no idea. I mean, usually people don't really talk about mental health, like going to school, you don't learn about the nervous system. Like, you don't learn good coping skills. It's kind of one of those things where when someone says, like, I need help, I have a mental issue, you kind of get looked at weird, right? Like, It's just, oh, what's wrong with you? Like,
Well, and everybody has so much shit going on that, like, people care, but they can't care enough to what you need.
exactly.
Because we're all messed up in our own way. But who was the first person that been like, well, this will fix it? Like, who gave you the first one, or doctor, or?
No, it was, I think, just one of my drug dealers.
Describe the high to me. Like, what is a Xanax high? Like,
Man, well, it's been about 3.5 years since I've done it, but what I can remember, the way it would make me feel was, it was kind of like the fuck it pill. So before, I would always be so nervous about, like, messing up, because that's anxiety. Is essentially what anxiety is. It's like, you're already trying to predict what the future is, what's going to happen, and it's usually pretty negative thoughts. So I'm right? Like, I'm thinking,
I'm a Gemini, yes. Like, fuck.
you're thinking, oh, if I don't do this thing, then this bad thing will happen. Or if I say this to this person, will they like me? They probably won't. They're probably going to think I'm weird, this and that. It's so much of that. So at least what Xanax did for me was it shut up all of those noises. It finally made it to where my brain was quiet. And I thought, this is it. This is awesome. This is what I've been missing my whole life. I mean, for the longest time, Xanax felt like a best friend to me. It was really hard to let go.
I mean, that sounds good. So what's the downside? What's the bad part of this? Like, what does it just literally inhibit you from moving, or like working, or?
Yeah, so
I've always
I
wondered.
Yeah, and I, in getting clean too, when I decided I was going to get clean and I needed help and all this stuff, I'd actually just started dating my boyfriend. We had been dating for barely 5 months at this point. And I remember going to him, and my therapist at the time was like, I think you need to tell. Like, our first session, they were like, you should probably tell your partner. That's not really fair for you to be going through this alone and, like, also keeping this from him. Yeah. And I thought, you're right. So I literally left the appointment, and I drove to him, and I said, I have to tell you something. And I said, I've been on this pill for about 4 years. I've been very off and on from it, but I'm deciding to get it off. I'm probably going to be going through some mood swings and stuff like that. And he just was like, that explains so much. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and I'm getting offended. Like, what do you mean that explains so much? He's like, this whole time, I knew I just needed to stay with you a little bit longer. Because he's like, if something just kept telling me, like, you're such a good girl, you're such a good person, but there's something up happening. And I was like, wow. Okay, you need to explain a little bit more. I'm curious what you mean by that. And he's like, your mood swings. Like, 1 minute you'd be really chill, and then the next you would you'd be screaming. Like I do remember this one point my friend called me and I was like pissed at her or something. And I picked up the phone and I just threw it at his door and he was like, what the hell? And I was like, fuck you. You know, like, I'm like screaming
So it
and
comes
everything.
out like this. So that was there. You didn't even notice it probably at this point.
I thought I was as cool as a cucumber. I'm telling you, when I was on that thing, there ain't nobody that would have told me I looked stupid because I didn't care. That's what that pill does. It makes you not care. It numbs you out.
Was your dependency every day on it? Like you had to pop a half?
I would say like towards that last year, yeah. It was about every day or every other day.
I mean, was it placebo at that point? Could you even feel it? You think it was even working? Or was it's in your bloodstream for that long now. Like,
maybe it was at that point, but it was like if I had to go do an errand or like adulting is what I'd always say if I got to go to the store or whatever. I'm like, well, I could make it more fun if I take my Xanax. And then I'm just all Lily through the checkout line and doing my thing. I mean, I just felt like I was like on top of the fucking world.
At this point, were you prescribed by a doctor? Was it all drug dealer stuff? It was all under the table?
Oh, I'd go buy 200 to 300 pills.
Holy shit. And go through them? Like,
And I'd sell some of them to some of my friends and
because it's hard to get, right? Like you can't just go to Walgreens.
Oh yeah, no, it's a very controlled substance. I mean, it's hard to even get prescribed them.
Is it the same as I had a buddy that was really on lithium? Is it the same as lithium?
Lithium.
He was wackadooey on lithium. It was called that.
That might be more of an opiate, I think.
He hurt his back.
Yeah.
So it was
okay. Those are two different classes of drugs, but I mean, essentially both.
But you were on your drug. You were going to work. You were having a relationship. I mean, you were functioning drug addict with it.
100% functioning drug addict.
That's scary shit.
Functioning, yeah. And that's the thing. I think like a lot of people from the outside, they think you're okay because you put on this mask, right? Of like, I'm doing it. I'm on top of my shit, this and that. But a lot of people, they don't really know like that you're suffering deep down. And I didn't really know because I just kept telling myself like, I have it under control. This addiction doesn't have me. I have,
Of course.
I got the pill under control. I know what I'm doing. You can't tell me that I'm doing this wrong. And like, you couldn't tell me that.
So what was the withdrawal like that led to what got you out of it, like the dancing that we'll get into? And like, what was it? Cold sweats? Did you have to lock yourself in a room, padded room?
Yeah, they were pretty awful. But so what was the turning point for me?
Yeah.
And really was the wake up call. I had some extra Molly and I was like, I just told my roommate at the time, I was like, fuck it, let's take some Molly. And she's like, okay. And the Molly I got was like clean. I had, tested it and it was totally good. Well, I had one pill left and I decided to give it to my neighbor and we all were having a really good time. But kind of a little bit of backstory of my neighbors, he also had a little bit of an addiction problem too. So, and me and him had like, he maybe bought a couple pills off me, vice versa. And so I was like, oh, well, like he'll do it with us, whatever. So we're all doing the Molly together. We're having a good time. Him and his other roommate, they end up leaving. And they're like, we're going to go get food. And me and my roommate are like, no, don't leave. We're having such a good time, blah, blah, blah. Well, about an hour passes and his roommate's like, hey, Corey's not breathing. And I'm just like, what? And so we ended up going over there and yeah, I mean, he was like coding and it turned out that I guess he had one of his friends come over and was like, hey, do this other thing. And he did it, and I think it had fentanyl in it.
Yeah. So did they save him? I mean... So
me and my roommate are like, oh my God, I know that my roommate is smacking him, and she's like, wake up. And I'm like, and I'm looking at his lips, and I'm like, they're purple. Like, oh my God. So she was like, call 911. We called 911. We pull him to the ground, and they're like, you're going to need to do CPR on him until paramedics get there. So we're doing CPR. Finally, the paramedics come in and they're like, step back, we got this. And I'm just looking at my roommate like, oh God, like I can't believe this just happened. And it was really weird. I almost had kind of like an out of body experience where it was like I had this weird thought. I feel like it just came out of me, and I was just looking at myself, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Because that could have been you easily, right?
Could have been me. And it's also like, you haven't worked this hard in your life to be in situations like this. You haven't gone through everything that you've gone through to be dealing with this.
Yeah.
Snap out of it, you know, like, this is not okay. This is not the life you really want. And so that's when I called my sister and I told her everything that had happened. And I said, dude, I'm really shooken up about it. Like, I almost witnessed someone die. And I'm a very big, what do they call that? Like when you feel other people's emotions.
Empath or whatever.
I'm a huge empath. So I was like, I can't believe I just witnessed this. I hope he's healthy. I can never look his parents in the eyes. Like, this is just too much for me. So I called my sister and I was like, I need help. You know, like I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And she was like, I am so happy that you said this, because she's like, I actually was talking to mom and dad about having an intervention with you. Because I was getting so messed up and going to her house, and I would be passing out on her couch. And her husband would come in and be like, man, Emily must be really tired. Like, she's always sleeping and this and that. Maria's like, no, she's just fucked up.
You're doing the fucked up nod-offs all the time, sleeping.
I would literally come into their house and be like, what's up? And then I'd lay down on their couch and be out. And Maria's like, well, I can't even hang out with you. Like, you're so messed up, you know? So she was like, I'm happy you're seeing it now, because she was like, before you were so in denial that, and me and her were close then too. She's like, even if I would have said something to you, you wouldn't have seen it. And that's the kind of the hard thing with people with addiction, is they are not really going to see it until they see it. Like, no matter how many people around them are saying, you know, hey, I'm really scared, you know, for your health and your safety, and I really love you and I care about you. They're not going to care.
Is that so? Do you think your neighbor is what really woke you up? I mean, that's what did it. That was the turning point. If that wouldn't have happened, do you think that could have went on another year,
Probably,
or maybe even still, for all you know, like?
Yeah, probably. And I think I did know deep down that I wanted to stop doing it, and that I think I knew it was wrong. And it wasn't a sustainable way to live. I think I did truly know that, but I didn't want to come back to reality. Reality's hard.
It is.
It's hard.
Well, now that, because I have anxiety, now that you mention, like, you always think what the worst could be, that's totally me. I've just learned to, like, write music with it and do shit with it. But if sometimes, you know, if you could give me a pill to make that stop, I can't say I wouldn't have done that either. I mean, honestly.
But you have good coping skills. That's what I would call it, as a good coping skill.
So is that what, I mean, besides probably the horrible cold sweats and all the shit you went through to get off it, what led you to, who recommended dancing to help you heal from it?
So I actually had kind of started dancing before I had really stopped doing all of that. I got more into it when I was getting off of it, because so your life is like basically blocks. And addiction is a block in there. So when you take away that block,
it's a big block.
It's gonna, your world's gonna crumble, and that's when a lot of people have problems, they end up going back to it because they don't fill that block in. So when I said, okay, I'm going to be serious about this, I have to fill in that block. And that's when I was like, well, I really like dancing. I've actually been hula hoop dancing for a while, but I was like, I haven't picked it up for a minute. Like, I need to get back into that. I need to learn more new moves with shuffling, and that's kind of when I started really focusing a lot on my dancing and stuff like that.
So can you socially go out and have a drink and be okay? I mean, they don't trigger any you can go have a girls' night, party, get drunk, do all like what young people would do, and you'd never miss like that feeling or that pill or.
So the good thing, I would say the good thing about what I chose as an addiction is not a lot of people do Xanax. I think it would be harder if you were an alcoholic because there's alcohol everywhere. I think that would be pretty hard. I've never really had an issue with alcohol though, so I can go out and I can still be like, like it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like having a drink tonight. But what I liked about Xanax is so alcohol can like make my stomach kind of feel upset, but with Xanax, it's not like that. I mean, it was like you take it and you feel great every single time. With drinking, it's like you might drink something that your body's like, nope. And then you're not feeling good. Or like the next day you have hangovers and stuff like that. Xanax I never had that.
Where do people go? Like, I mean, because with alcoholism, there's AA meetings. There's meetings for almost everything. Was there ever anything like that for your addiction? Is there Zoloft meetings that I don't know about, or?
I think they probably do have some, but
I never. To be, it sounds like.
Yeah, I never went to any of that. I probably should have. I'll be honest. I feel like I probably should have went to an outpatient treatment facility, but I never did. I just did it on my own. And I don't recommend that for anybody. I think you should get help. But I was very proud of myself when I told my sister, and it's crazy how shit lines up though, because it was like a week away from my annual like physical with my doctor. And I was just like, I need help. I don't really know what to do, next steps and stuff like that. And she was like, well, I think you should tell your doctor. And I was like, you think so? She's like, so I'm like, okay. And I'm telling you, before I was the person that was like, I have this under control, like, no, and I would like hide it from everybody. I had these super high walls up, like no one would know about my addiction. Everyone's gonna think I'm just the cool person. But now I went to my doctor and he's like, is there anything you want to talk about today? And I just broke down. I was like, I need help. And I told him everything, and he was like, I just want you to acknowledge that you taking this first step, this is like your new life. And it just meant so much to me. Like, he is such an amazing doctor. That's why I still go to him, because oftentimes I feel like when you go to the doctor, they just seem like you're like, oh, you're just another number, right? Like,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, let's check your vitals, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're good. Have a good day. But my doctor was very, very like, well, okay, what's happening? Why do you feel that way? You know, like he actually wanted to understand why I was doing things I was doing, because he wanted to help me. And so he said, okay, for the anxiety and for the withdrawals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on an antidepressant, so an SSRI. He said, and I want you to start going to counseling at least once a week. Maybe at first you might need to do twice a week. And he said, I want a report after every single counseling session. I want to know what's happening, what you're talking about, like what's going on with you, what do they recommend? So I did that for a couple of months. And already within a couple of months, I already felt better. I still had some of the withdrawals and things like that, but I would say the worst part was within the first month, so like month and a half, and getting used to the new SSRI, because that can make you feel very wonky.
What's up? This episode is sponsored by Fitty's Espresso in the Northland. Thank you for watching the Drinks on Dave podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe at the bottom of the screen. Now back to the episode. So your doctor that you're close to, I mean, is there any long-term side effects from the abuse that you have done with the Zoloft that you know of, at least?
So the SSRI that I was on, I don't think there's any long-term effects from it. I've looked into it, and a lot of people actually will be on that for many years. But the way I looked at it is, this is just a short-term solution to help me get to the coping skills that I need to be able to deal with the anxiety without having to go back to using Xanax. So
another thing I've never done either is therapy, which I probably should one day, but has that really helped you?
Yeah, a lot.
You talk about everything?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I went in there and they were like, what should we know about you? I said that I love to do drugs. And I don't really know why, but that's why I'm here. So I need to help me with that. But it's kind of nice because you're talking to someone who's third person, like they don't have any emotion towards you. So it's kind of nice to just sit there and tell them how you really feel, because they're not going to look at you like your mom and dad would and be like, but don't feel that way. Like, oh, you can't feel that way. I mean, they're coming at you from a real perspective of, well, have you ever thought maybe you're just really hard on yourself? You know, that's not really a good way of thinking. Maybe you should think of it in like this. So, and then, you know, when you're listening to them, you're like, because it's this other person. It's not someone that you even have an emotional tie to. So that's why I really like therapy. Some people are like, you know, I've had a really bad therapist. I just tell them, just get a new therapist. I know people who've had to go through 5 to 10 different therapists until they found the one that's made a huge difference. And I would definitely agree with that.
And it really does help, though. Have you stuck with the same one?
No, I've switched.
You've switched?
I kind of find a little bit of value from each person I talk to, but I'm even still finding the person who can help me with like what I'm going through right now.
What is that? Can you talk about it?
Now I'm going through a chronic dizziness issue, and I think that stems from my nervous system being out of whack, and I think that was from everything I previously did. And yeah, I have good coping skills, but I think I just got really hard on myself after I had gotten out of the addiction, and I thought, you've wasted 26 years of your life, Emily. You need to be stepping it up. You need to be owning businesses. You should be doing this for many hours. You know, you should be
further than you are.
Further than what you are, exactly. And that's not healthy either. So I think my stress bucket just overtipped, and I think that made my nervous system out of whack, and now I'm dealing with
just like vertigo type shit.
It is.
Like if you get out of the car too quick, you gotta.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. So, you know, when you're in that phase, like when you get off of a treadmill and you're kind of in that, like, I feel like I'm still moving, but I'm not. I feel like I'm always stuck in that.
Eesh, that sucks.
It's been really awful.
And you work out, you said off camera that you would go to the gym or something. Does that help you too?
It does.
Like the gym, just in general?
Just in general. I mean, it helped me get through the addiction. It helped me with the recovery part as well. I think working out just is so good for your mental health. Like, I think everyone should be doing at least 30 minutes a day. And if that's just walking or some light stretching, it really is so good for your mental.
What did you do did you play sports in high school? Like, were you an athlete?
I was a cheerleader, and I also played some golf, and then I did softball. So I kind of did a little bit of everything. Because
you don't work out in your 20s and after high school if you weren't an athlete. It's some sort, I feel.
I could see that.
Because the people that didn't work out or play sports in high school don't now. Like you don't. Some turn the table, but I just want. So in high school, that's when you first started drugs, right? What's the hardest thing you've done, you can say, on camera? This is the Howard Stern part of the show.
Well, let's see. I've tried ketamine. Some people might not think that's crazy. But
I don't even know what that is. And I'm 10 years older than, what is that?
I think it's kind of like a horse tranquilizer or something like that. Yeah, I think technically it is. I think they give it to people that, like when they kind of want you to be sedated in a way. I think that's what it is. I don't know why people like to do it. It's like a trend right now, seriously, at like festivals. People are like, I got the crazy K. Like, it's a thing. Yeah, it's really a thing. And I did it once, and I was like, I don't know if I like this, because it kind of made me feel like I was drunk, but very quickly. So
is it like a whip it? Because that's my era where you took the cheese cans and or the air.
I don't know. It's kind of different from a whippet, because a whippet, you're like, wah, wah, wah. You know, you get that like.
Wichita was crazy, huh? What's going on in Wichita?
I knew a lot of people that like to do drugs. So.
Growing up, I only knew from Wichita from the Jack White song. I go to Wichita.
Oh, yeah.
Seven Nation Army.
Yes.
I didn't know ketamine and Crazy K was going on up there.
We got everything, man. We got everything. I think there's a lot of meth there, too.
And back to where you went to college. I mean, you guys, Wichita State, didn't you make a run in basketball one year? I know I've heard that name. I just never.
Yep.
And what's that school known for? Because that's kind of what's.
I think it is the basketball.
You had
Like,
a
that's
Cinderella run one year, right? Like
Cinderella run?
Well, the NCAA where the team got really far.
Oh,
they
yeah.
call it Cinderella run.
Yes.
Because I was in LA when that happened, but I remember hearing about Wichita State somehow.
Yep.
Anybody that you know, like, is, before we talk, get into the next part, is anyone still battling with this, with Zoloft and stuff?
With Xanax?
Or Xanax? I mean,
No.
everyone kind of fought it.
Yeah, I would say the people that I did it with, I think when I was like, hey guys, I'm no longer doing this, I'm going a different path, I think it actually kind of made people be like, hey, I want to do that too. Like, you're changing, maybe I want to change. So that was actually kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't be around people. It's hard to be around them if they're stuck in that vortex of that. It's like you can't.
Yeah.
What do you talk about?
Exactly.
If they're fucked up on it and you're not. It's just you feel bad for them, especially if you're an empath like me, because I am totally.
Yep.
I can feel like, and like growing up, if you've ever done a job interview, it's like press 1 if you feel what others are feeling. Like, what the fuck's that? I know what it means now.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally do. I know if someone doesn't like me right off the bat. I know if someone's in a bad mood. I just know. It's weird.
You just sense the vibe.
And I have no poker face either. So like, it's a good and a bad thing, because like if I know you don't like me, it's weird. Like I'm like, I want you to like me. And that's an empath too, I feel.
Yes.
I hate when people don't like me, and a lot of people don't like me, so it's fucking...
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things too that made me want to do Xanax, is because I'm the same way. I want everyone to like me, and I want everyone to respect me and listen to what I have to say. But I feel like oftentimes I was just written off. And I think that kind of came from me being the youngest. So I grew up with, there's 4 of us, four girls.
Oh, shit.
And I was the youngest, so I think oftentimes it was like, oh, she's the baby, like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And I think it was not like my sisters are bad people by any means. They're some of the most beautiful and intelligent people I think I even still know to this day. So nothing negative against my sisters. They're so wonderful. But, as kids, you kind of like pick on each other,
Yeah,
and
especially if you're the baby out of that many. Yeah.
And I mean, they were like, they would make up mean stories about me. And I think it just started from such a young age, because when you're young, you don't really know that they're kidding. But I think I grew up thinking like, oh, they really don't like me. And then I think that just kind of, I always had that kind of thought in my head of that people just initially don't like me. So I think I overcompensated by being like, oh my God, like, you're so sweet, like, come into my arms, let me just shower you with kindness and things like that. But that can be too much. That's a stressor alone, that can make your stress bucket overfill, and then stuff like...
Because you can't change people, like what they're feeling, what they're thinking about, anything.
And not everyone is going to like you, and that's been one of the hardest lessons of my life that I've ever had to learn, is not everyone is going to like you.
Yeah, I know. I still get butthurt when I go check on a friend on Facebook and it's like add friend. I mean, it really messes my day up when you shouldn't give a shit. I mean, I'm 30 years. But that would hurt my feelings too. But it really, like, I want people to like me. That's the whole part of my thing. It's just, but yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I've never gone down that path. Not saying I will or I won't, but it's just crazy to hear a story, because if I met you and just didn't know anything about you, I never would have guessed you had an addiction problem, just because of who you are, just from what I've met, you know what I mean? But that shows you how people can mask it and overcome shit.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was going through it, I don't think a lot of people knew. I mean, my boyfriend, he didn't even know, and he was like...
That's cool. Yeah, you said he could tell, he's like, I'm not giving up on this.
He's also such, like, an innocent person. I always say he's such an innocent person. And I mean, like, he does his own, stuff, whatever. But, like, for the most part, he's such a chill dude. Like, so he didn't know about Xanax. He didn't know any of that stuff. And he's like, wait, what were you on? What does that do? Like... Is that why you were crazy? He's like, 'cause that makes so much more sense now. That explains a lot. And I'm like...
Lee Summit stays pretty pure. If he's a Lee Summit boy, Lee Summit's kind of like...
He's a Lee Summit boy.
That makes total sense. So did he go to EDC with you?
He did not.
So who'd you go with?
I went with my sister and my good friend.
And you went camping? We talked about that off camp. You couldn't pay me $50,000 to go camping.
I mean,
at EDC.
It was fun, but I have a lot of notes. A lot of notes because you're in that desert heat. And so the tents that we had purchased for them to like set up, they had an air conditioning unit in there, but it wasn't that great. So if you're going to do it, you need to put like a tent on top of the tent because the sun just would bake you in there.
Of course. And that air ain't blowing cold air.
No, I mean, if you're right next to it, you're like, oh, that feels good. But then you like step a couple feet back and you're like,
where would you shower and go to the bathroom? Like porta potty? Like what is it?
Yeah, they had these like stations. It was kind of like
movie trailer type stuff.
Yeah, and you go in there and they have like these different showers set up and you just take your stuff in there and you shower and you got people in there with you. I mean, they obviously had like walls, so you have some privacy, but
you'd be taking Uncle Dave to Circus at the end of the night and then come and get like there's no way in hell. I mean, but what I'm trying to tie in EDC with is that kind of what helped you like in recovery, like dancing and just getting out of your shell. That's what I researched on you. I don't know if it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it necessarily helped me, but I went to EDC for the first time last year, and at that point I had been a couple years sober.
And it was amazing, right? The first year, it was just.
It was really fun, but we got a hotel room, so I think
I
liked it better because we were able to leave the craziness and go to a hotel room and be able to sleep and have darkness.
Yes.
I didn't realize like how much I was gonna miss that. I had to literally like wrap a scarf around my head to like shield out the sun coming in.
I don't care where I'm at. I will go to like if we're here and we're partying, I will drive home. I will Uber home or drive. I'm sleeping in my bed.
You're like, no.
And especially traveling, like I gotta get my sleep. So quick story, I went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago and me and my buddies, we all tried to do the cheap thing where we all sat in a room.
Mm-hmm.
He snored like a mother. I went and bought an $800 hotel room next to us, another room just so I could sleep. Like I paid it because it was Super Bowl, so they jacked us all up anyway. But it was worth $800 to me.
Yeah,
for 5 hours of sleep.
Jeez, you're like the beauty sleep.
Well, I moved that fucker in the bathtub. I could hear him. We moved him to the porch. I couldn't do it. And I went into the front desk in my boxers and I go, I need another room. She's like, honey, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like it's $800. Take it. Like, so you like just imagining, because I've been to Vegas and I lost my soul there once. I hate Vegas in a like weird love away. Mm-hmm. The thought of camping at EDC, I just don't. There's not a woman, there's not a person, a friend in the earth that could. But at least you got it out of your system.
Yeah, we wanted to just go for the full experience because, you have the EDC part, but EDC camp is kind of its own party too. So we were like, we got to know like what all is going in the camping. Like they had like little events going on. They seriously had like goat yoga. But we didn't get in because you had to show up early to get a ticket to go in there. I mean, I'm telling you, everything was so crowded, but
yeah, that's what you said. They might have oversold it.
Oh, I personally think.
Were you getting claustrophobic?
100%. Yeah. I mean, but by that last day, so dealing with the chronic dizziness issue that I'm going through.
Oh yeah.
By that last day, I'm telling you, I was on nothing, 100% sober, not even a lick of alcohol. And my friend laid down and she's like, I need to take a nap for a second. And I'm like, if I lay down, I'm not getting up. And she's just laying there and I'm like, dang it, okay, I'm going to lay down. So I lay down and I look at the stage and it's Sophie Tucker performing. I really like Sophie Tucker. And I'm like, oh, I'm just watching them. And then literally all of my vision, when you're really drunk and it goes, your vision does that?
Yeah.
My vision was doing that. And I remind you, I am sober. And I'm just like, okay, body, I need to listen to you. And you want me to go lay down. So I kind of looked at my friend and she was out and I was like, hey, do you guys want to go back to the camp? And my sister and her were like, yeah, we're really tired. I was like, okay, because I need to go lay down. I need to not do this anymore.
I mean, if you were stone cold sober and you could have passed out or something. Was this 2 a.m. in the morning knowing EDC? Was this like late or
At this point, it was like 11. So I mean,
when you're done, you're done. No.
but we had been doing this since Thursday, and this was Sunday night. So like, I think my body was like, you've already been pushing yourself to the limit, and now I'm going to halt you right now. Like this is enough.
What did a drink in there cost? Just ballpark?
Oh God, like $20, 20 minimum. I think actually the cheapest one is like 18.
Could you smuggle anything in there? Like, can you? Were they
maybe if you put it in your drink pack, but most of the time I feel like people are actually really doing drugs. So like I feel like they want that filled with water. If you're smart, you'd want it filled with water, not alcohol.
What was water in there? Was it Woodstock 99 type gouging going on?
No, they actually had water fountains. You can have you have places where you can get free water, but because it was so oversold, you're waiting in a line to get the water.
That's been those promoters are shady. I mean, they want to make as much money as they can. And the fire marshals get paid off all the time because you know it was oversold. If you were feeling the
100%.
like it was oversold.
Like, here's my thing: EDC is awesome. If you get a chance to do it, you totally should. I did have a great time, but if you're a person that has a hard time with crowds, I would not suggest EDC. I would maybe try out Electric Forest or do another festival that maybe is a little bit smaller.
Yeah. All right. So a group of friends are first time going to EDC, right? They book their shit. Everything's going. What's the give me 5 things you got to do at EDC and 5 things to not do.
Okay, so we're starting with things to do.
Yeah. Give me 5 like must do's.
Yeah, I would say check out all of the extra things they have going on. So they have like the EDC downtown. I would also say check out the carnival. That's really fun too. I would say also like check out at least one vendor. I know the food can get pretty pricey, but some of the food in there is actually really good.
Yeah.
Dues, you want to always have water because of the lines. Like, if at least 3 of you, if you have a big group, 3 or 4 of you should be carrying a water bag. I mean, just to always be helping each other out. I mean, and the fact you're in the desert, it gets really hot. At nighttime, it gets cooler, but still, if you're going to be running around doing fun stuff, you're going to want to always stay hydrated.
So 5 don'ts at EDC.
Okay. Don't be an asshole. Don't forget your water pack. Don't forget to stay hydrated. Don't forget your comfy shoes. And also, do not eat the corn dogs. They're terrible.
Don't be an asshole. That's actually
I feel like a lot of people needed to hear that.
They need to hear that.
They did, because there was a lot of assholes
there. Both guy and girls
there.
need to hear that.
There was a lot lot of assholes
I
there.
bet.
I mean, you go to these shows to be like Plur. Have you heard of the Plur? It's like the vibe. Like everyone's like chilling to listen to music and love and all
Everybody's out a lot of money to be there. Like, have fun. Like, remember it. Yeah, and totally get it.
And I think with it being oversold is because it's such a trend now that people are like, oh, I want to go to the festival. It's kind of like Coachella, right? Like, I'm going because all the influencers are there, so I'm going to take my pictures and look at me, like I'm doing this thing. It's like, dude, fuck off. You're being an asshole and you're in the way of people who want to be there for the music. I mean, me and my sister, when we were at sets, we were dancing the entire time. I mean, like for an hour, we were drenched. So, and people are just looking at us like, oh, these girls are crazy. It's like, no, you go there to dance. You go there to vibe. Like that's what the DJs want you to do. Yeah. They want you to enjoy their music. Why else are you here? Just to take some Molly and act like.
And there are people that go just for the Instagram picture. I mean, like just to show it, and it ruins it. And I think you picking up that it was oversold, that vibe can linger through everybody. Because everybody's like, that line shouldn't be that fucking long. Like, it wasn't that long. Everybody knows when the vibe's off. It goes through everything. Yeah. So I think that was a big part of it too. But will you go back next year? Is it like a yearly thing now?
It was pretty expensive, so I don't know if I would do it next year because I want to go to Electric Forest. Okay,
I've heard of that.
I think Electric Forest is probably more of my vibe.
Is there anything in Kansas City that does this?
Dance Festopia.
Where's that at?
They moved it. It's to some like small town just straight down south. probably about like 30, 45 minutes down south.
And it's kind of like EDC, but the Missouri version.
I guess you could phrase it like that, yeah.
So there's going to be Busch Light, Bud Light instead of ecstasy, I guess.
I mean, no, there'll still be a lot of that there, but the music they perform there, that they play there, is not really like my type of music. I really like house music, house tech, things that you can dance to, and they play a lot of like dubstep. People will argue and say you can dance to dubstep, just not really it's not what I prefer.
Yeah.
It's not my choice of music. So that's why I choose to not do Dance Festopia. But I had actually performed 3 years at Dance Festopia. So maybe that's also why I'm kind of like,
I'm glad you clarified that, because there'll be some butthurt dubstepper. You can dance to dubstep.
Yes. Look, there's a whole battle right now on it. And I know, I'm sorry, people are probably going to come in the comments and say some stuff about me. I'm just a house head. That's what I like. That's what I enjoy. Dubstep can be cool for a song or two, in my opinion, and then I'm just kind of ready to go back to my house.
So to wrap up slowly, we're at Fitty's Espresso in Kansas City. And you've been here before?
I have,
That's
yeah.
so weird and random. Like, we had a lot of conversation off camera, by the way. But so how were you here before? Tell me about.
Yeah, so I had came here one time before, and it was for a Yelp event, because I am what they call like an elite Yelper. So essentially I have Yelped enough to where you are invited to this group, and it's usually like bi-weekly, sometimes even weekly events, to go to different restaurants and coffee shops and things like this to just check out new, places around the area, and really just to get their names out, and for you to hopefully, I think what it is for you to come back with your friends and family, and say like, hey, I had this really good pie here, or I had this delicious plate. I would love to bring my family and friends back. So yeah, I came here one time, and I think I got, I think it was the cappuccino that I got.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
I had the hazelnut today. I'm a hazelnut basic bitch. I love it.
Hazelnut.
It was amazing. Recommend it. So yeah, when you said Yelper, I seriously, like, I'm old, so I thought you were like a yodeler. I didn't know what the hell
A yodeler?
meant. Or I didn't know what the hell you meant. A Yelper? I don't know. I thought it was a singing choir thing, but
That is hilarious.
I
I
was
should have
way
been
off.
with that. If I would have known that's what you were thinking, I feel like I would have
I
just
thought
kept
it was
going
like a
with that.
charity yodeling event, and they sponsored it. I did not know that you like. So is there Karens in this Yelper thing? Like, are there some people that just
I'm
look?
sure. I'm sure there's Karens in it, but
If you show up to like any business and you give a bad review, you used to do it, like, fuck you.
there's only been 2 places I've wrote bad reviews to, and it was because they deserved it. I mean, like, their worker was very rude to me, for no reason, and I like went off on there. One of the places ended up closing, so I think my review for them went away.
Well, I mean, if they're rude, if they're assholes, they're assholes. I mean,
Right.
like, service is everything. I mean, you got to have that at least.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, to wrap everything up, I just want you to, for everyone watching, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Proud of you for overcoming all that.
Thank you.
And one more time, your business page, like what is it, like, on Instagram?
Yeah, so the name is Pure Allure Aesthetic, and what it's a beauty salon. Well, I'm just currently running it out of my house, but what I do is I perform needleless lip fillers, teeth whitening, and also I will be offering tooth gems. So if you're interested in any of that, please hit up Pure Allure Aesthetics off Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much. I'm going to cheers you now with my Celsius. It was a great episode. And then, like I said, I hope people that, if there's anyone going through any kind of addiction like that, maybe hearing your side of it can help them. It's only you can turn the corner on it.
Yeah. Just, if any advice I would give to you is just know that better things will come your way. You just have to open up and be willing to accept what is now in order for better things to come to you. And just know that you're really not alone. There really is always help out there for you. There's so many things, even if you Google it, of pages of if you just reach out to them, they will talk to you for free. And I'm sure that those places will even reach out and get you like a certified therapist to help you. Or you can even reach out to me and I can help you as well. I'm very passionate about this. I hate seeing people struggle. Maybe that's the empath in me, but
Absolutely it is.
but yeah, it was amazing to actually come on here. This is the first time I've ever openly talked about this. So I feel like this was a step for me too, and in my recovery, because I feel like I will always kind of be dealing with this in a way. I mean, it was my past, but I feel like this helped me. So thank you for having me.
Of course, it was a pleasure, and friends for good. Now I support you. I hope everything you stay on the track. But Drinks on Dave just wrapped. Fitty's Express Zone, Kansas City. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for checking out the Drinks on Dave podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe below so you never miss an episode, because you never know who's going to show up and have a drink on Dave.
Do not eat the corn dogs. They're terrible.